Now, if I've done my maths right, you had 10 things on the left about. Let's say you ended up with 1 or 2 things you could do for each one. You might have 10 or 20 things on the right. Yeah? That's lovely, but my word, it's a lot of stuff to do. How many of these right-hand column things do I advise you do? More than none. So you know we said before about asking people's advice. So if I would say, how many of these would you advise you do? Well, I'm saying you can't have none. You choose the number, but it can't be none. If it was me, my brain's not big enough to deal with any more than 1 or 2 things. So if I was you, what I do is have a quick squiz down the right-hand side and circle 1 or 2 things. So if you think, I should prepare a few more questions, actually, and I should always ask in advance what people want me to talk about, and then I'm bound to be relevant. You know, I say, I'm going to use Google Images to get some cool pictures. I don't care. Circle whatever you like. But just circle 2 or 3, 1 or 2, just more than none. And then, of course, the circle makes it an idea. How do you turn it into an action? Yeah, do it. Write down when you're first going to do it. Yeah? So if you've circled, I'm going to ask more questions forevermore. Next to it, right? Starting with tomorrow's team meeting. This is so cool. We're doing so well. I don't know much else to teach you. I am going to get rid of some dreadful stuff for you. And then we're going to change habits, then we're all going to go home. So, very quickly, the stuff you dread happening. Why do you dread it happening? Because you don't know what to do when it happens. If you knew what to do when it happens, you wouldn't dread it. Fair enough? Well, we've done loads of stuff about influencing techniques. We've done loads of stuff about how to position things better. So the way you get rid of stuff that you're dreading is think, what do I dread? And then think in advance, how am I going to deal with it when it happens? So you'd be amazed to hear me use the word script again. So let's have a bit of a quick chat about this. Tell me some things, shout out some things you don't land anybody in it here, but shout out some things you dread hearing or you dread happening, like, you know, that you come across from a communication point of view. Tell me anything you dread happening.
Can't do that.
Yeah, someone says, I can't do that. Someone says, I'm too busy.
No.
Someone says, no. Yeah, people disagree. Try that.
Somebody screams and runs out of the room.
Someone screams and runs out of the room.
That'll never work.
That'll never work.
I have a concern about that.
I have a concern about that. Someone that's, yeah, the office dementor. Yeah, it just sort of drags you right down. Think, oh yeah, here's Colin. If anyone's called Colin, I'm sorry, I don't mean you. I'm just like using a run. Yeah, people say we don't have the resource, it's not a priority, can't get back to you, couldn't be bothered, don't like you. What were you thinking at last time's Christmas party? You know, whatever it might be. Other things I dread, they're very specific. Other things I dread quite general. What happens if I don't know the answer in front of an important group of people? Yeah, what happens if someone's trying to make me look stupid for some reason? What happens if I can't shut somebody up? Yeah, these are all things we dread happening. But as I said before, the only reason you dread it is because you don't know what to do when it happens. If you knew what to do, you wouldn't dread it. Happy with the logic of this? Yeah? So, let's have a talk about this. Let's say when someone says they don't have time. We need to work out how we're going to respond. Do you remember I said as humans we tend to think in twos? So if someone says they don't have time, one option is you can say, well, find time. Or another option is you go, oh, never mind, I hoped you did have. I don't really rate either of those, but that's what most of us do. Yeah? So we think of a third thing we could say, which could be, yeah, I don't have any time either for this, but of course it's important, so how would you advise we get it done? Yeah? Or you might have a different phrase and say, yeah, good call, thanks for your honesty, but if you were me, what would you do? Because this does need to happen. Can you give me some advice how to get it done? When people say it can't be done, what I often say is, if we knew what to do here, what do you think we'd do? And people often tell you the answer. It's really weird. They say, it can't be done, there's no way it can be done, we just don't have 2 hours to spend on this. But if we could find them, where do you think we'd find them? Well, we just wouldn't have that meeting. There you go. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm not trying to give you the answer. I'm trying to open your mind to the way to deal with this. You want to think in advance what you're going to say. So if you know that someone's going to say they haven't got time, you could preempt it, like we said before, preempting, and say, there's something I want to talk to you about. Now, before you say anything, I know that you don't have time for this, and neither do I, but let me quickly run it past you, and then we can have a quick chat about how we might make it work. So when they say, I haven't got time for this, you go, yeah, I know, I've just said that. So what happens is this. If someone says they don't have time, by the way, time is never about time. By the way, sounds like it is because it's called time. Time is never about time, it's about priority. You always have time for anything. People have said to me, I don't have time for this. And I say, what, you haven't got half an hour today? No, I don't have half an hour. I go, that's such a shame because just out there is a pirate treasure chest full of doubloons and it could be yours if you could just free up half an hour. They'd quickly find the time then. I don't have time. Just means I'm not prioritising it. Which is fair enough. You might decide that you're not prioritising, but I love the fact that when I say I haven't got time, what I'm actually doing inside my head is I've chosen to deprioritise. And I much prefer that I've chosen to deprioritise because I feel more powerful than thinking I don't have time to do anything. Yep. So if you look at your diary and you're back to back and you've got no time, what it means is you're prioritising habits over something you'd rather do. That make sense? And do you know, sometimes people are I think they think they're in what they call a comfort zone. But then I say, do you feel comfortable then? They go, not really. That's not a comfort zone, that's a habit zone. So, for example, let's have this. Someone says, we tried it before and it didn't work. You could go, yeah, them's the breaks. Or you could say, so what do you think we could learn from last time so we could try it differently next time? Or you could say, so the fact it didn't work last time, does that mean we should never try it again? Or we could say, if we manage to make it work, I don't think we can, but if we could, why might that benefit us? Bit cheesy this. I saw on I know loads of you are on Twitter. We're having Twitter chats, aren't we, some of you? Hello, Twitter friends. I saw on Twitter a while ago, someone says, FAIL, F-A-I-L, stands for first attempt is learning. It's cheesy, but I actually quite like that. First attempt is learning. It's not fail. First attempt is learning. Which ties in with something else I heard someone say once. If you do something and it doesn't work, and you learn from it and do it again, it's not a mistake, it's learning. If you make the same mistake again, then it's not a mistake, that's daft. So there's no such thing as a mistake, it's either learning or daft. Quite like that. You know, every time I do this, it really hurts. What would your advice be? Yeah? Every time I go to these update meetings and I think, oh, kill me now. What would my advice be? Don't go to him or change something. We can't. 3 options. So let's have a look at other things that people might say. It's not a priority. Go, yeah, absolutely. I know it's not your priority. Unfortunately, it's mine. So do you mind if I pick your brain for 30 seconds and then I can stop bugging you? I tend to find a really good way to get someone to help is go up to them and say, can I ask your advice about something? And I don't say anything else. Like, can I ask your advice about something? They go, what? And say, well, you know this thing. It needs doing. But I don't think it's a priority of yours. I don't think you've got time to help me. I'm not even sure we had the budget anyway. And we'd done it before and it didn't work. Unfortunately, we can't just sit there and not do anything ever again. So I was just wondering if you could give me some advice about ways we might explore to see if there's another way around. Is that a fair request? You see, so all we're doing is we're just thinking of ways to say it. Now, someone once said to me, as I was trotting through some ideas, this is all well and good, Andy, and every single thing you're saying is perfect, makes perfect sense. They'd never come out of my mouth, though. Yeah? I'm not saying use my words. What I'm trying to do is open your eyes. There are words. Have a think about it. Sometimes said, are good communicators, are they born or made? Well, do you know what? They're made. Because you know more about health than I do. Maybe you know this is factually incorrect what I'm saying, but I think I'm true with this. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Every baby that's ever been born in the history of the world, ever, there's never been a case when a midwife has gone up to the proud parents to say, you've had a lovely little natural-born communicator. Yeah? The only difference between really good communicators and people who don't get it right all the time is the really good ones say the right thing when it matters. That's the only difference. They say the right thing when it matters. So if you got the gift of the gab, you'll be fine. If not, you need to practice what to say. So, how to get rid of stuff you're dreading hearing, script what you're going to say in advance. I wish I'd been given all sorts of skills. Serving at tennis, growing hair, all sorts of stuff. I wasn't given those skills, but for some reason I'm quite good at coming up with stuff like this. So if there's something that you just can't sort out, I'll give you my contact details. Just send me an email. Not a long one, because you have to write it and I have to read it. A short one with your phone number on, and we'll have a 2-minute chat and we'll just get it sorted. If you want. I mean, it's there. My job is to help you feel welcome to it. You can ring me, you can email me anytime. Okay? Talking of such things, another thing I can do with your permission is every Tuesday, I send out an email called Tuesday Tips. I know some of you are on this. So if you want, I can get your email addresses and just sign you up for it. So every Tuesday you'll get a communication tip. Would that be okay? Is that right? Yeah? And it has unsubscribe at the bottom, so if you don't like them, just unsubscribe if you want. That just feels easier than all of you manually doing it. So we can do that. My website, andybounds.com, has got loads of free stuff on it. I'll send you copies of these slides. You can email me whenever you like. Now, why am I offering all these things? Because the final thing I want to talk about today is changing habits. 5 minutes on this, then we're kind of done. Now, the trouble is, I'm on slide 23, and I really want to be on slide 27. This lady, there's a picture of a lady here, a lady called Octavia Butler, and there's a quote next to her, which I'll just read out for you. Octavia Butler was asked by an interviewer how come she was so prolific. She wrote lots and lots and lots of books. I've written 3 books in my life. It's taken me 47 years, and I now look like this because of it. It's really hard work to write books. Really hard. Okay? She did 3 a year sometimes. And someone said to her, how come you do so much stuff? And she had this quote which said, first, forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. It will sustain you whether you're inspired or not. This is the most inspirational quote I've ever heard. That you may think it doesn't sound very inspiring. How come you're so prolific? First, forget inspiration. Habit's more dependable. It sustains you whether you're inspired or not. So if you want to be an author, there's no point wandering around in a field of daffodils and hoping inspiration hits. Yeah? What you have to do is you have to get up, go and have your coffee, have a wee, have a shower, sit down, 8:30, write till 11:30. Get into that habit. If nothing comes, don't get up, sit there, get it done. Get up, do something, have your lunch, you're rubbish straight after lunch, so don't do any work then, 2 till 5, sit down again. Now the reason I like this quote, even though it is utterly uninspiring, is if you've enjoyed today, and I really hope you have, I really hope you've got a lot out of the day, and maybe even you found some of it quite inspiring, think, I can do this actually, I really can do this. The trouble is, inspiration is finite. There's a point when it doesn't work anymore. So even if today has been the best day of your lives, and frankly, bad life, if this is the best day of it, yeah? But if this has been the best day of your life ever, there'll be a point, maybe on a cold Tuesday morning in November, when it doesn't inspire you anymore. Yeah? Maybe Monday morning in your update meeting. And you thought, I thought this was going to change. So inspiration doesn't, but habits more dependable, it sustain you whether you're inspired or not. So the final thing I want us to look at is ways that we can change habits. That's the final thing to look at. Give you a couple of quick ideas, and then I'll set you an exercise, and then I'm kind of done. Okay? Basically, remember the moisturizer drawer? The problem with the moisturizer drawer was I don't normally look there. So if I put you need reminders or you'll forget, all right? But if you put reminders in your moisturizer drawer where you never go, you almost need a reminder to look in the drawer with the reminder in it. So what we do instead is we think, where do my eyes normally go? So let's say your eyes normally go to an Outlook diary. You can put a recurring daily entry in at 10 o'clock every day saying, think of the do. You could put it in at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock if you wanted, think of the do. What I said before about changing your auto signature is really, really good advice if you want to change your habits of your emails. Because your eyes go to your email when you open up, when you click on new email and it comes up. Then in your face it's saying, what's the do? If you don't change your auto signature, you're hoping your brain remembers for the rest of time. Well, it won't. So if you change your auto signature to our actions, number 1, please can you and then I will, lots of love, Andy, that's a great way to change habits. Because if you clicked new email and it came up and you thought, actually this one, there aren't any green hands, I know he'd tell me off if he was here, but he isn't. You can always delete it, but you're better having it on every time and choosing to delete it than hoping you remember between now and the day of your retirement. What I said before about standard agenda items, standard agenda forms, change it so at the top you've got do in a box. We want to be able to do this at the end of the meeting, and change your standard agenda to immediate next steps or actions at the bottom. And it means that it's easy for you to change habits because it's in your face. One of our customers, and I think it's only one, I can't believe other people have done this, is they've got reminders on the back of the toilet door. I think that's going too far. But they say it's something that we look at. Staff notice boards. You can do templates, you can do tip lists. I mean, Tuesday tips, that's there to remind you. Even if the tip isn't useful for you that week and we send it to 20,000 people, odds are sometimes it won't be relevant to you personally, but maybe just getting the tip helps you think, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this. Another way to change habits is to include somebody else. So if you say to your boss or your colleague, if ever I send you an email without a do, please could you use a tip reply and say, thanks for this, what's the do? So you get real-time feedback. Oh, God, I forgot. Because if you ask your boss or someone else to help you, then, of course, you're much more likely to make it work. That's the trouble with recurring diary entries. What do you do when you're busy? Bump them, because no one knows. It's like I think that when I'm supposed to be thinking, I think I might shift a couple of pounds. I think if I just, have a piece of cheese when nobody can see me, there's probably no calories because nobody can see me. I think that's how it works. So the final slide we're going to do today is simply this. And you can do this now if you like, or do this on the way home. If you want to make things easy, in other words, make it easy for you to improve as a result of today, if I was you, I would turn all your notes into this 3-column table. Because your notes at the minute are green head stuff. I want green hands, I want an action plan. So left-hand column, I do 3 columns. Left-hand column, this is what I'm going to do. You've already got some things already written. So transfer them into this. I'm going to have less wordy slides. I'm going to be more afters causing in my meetings. I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to be interesting. I'm going to... Second column, when are you first going to do it? Tomorrow morning's meeting. Friday's email to Colin. And here's the third column, which I very rarely see people write, but if you want to change your habits, you need it. The right-hand column says, and this is how I'll remember. So the left-hand column says, this is what I'm going to do. So this is the what, this is the action, this is what I'm going to do. The middle column says, by when, this is when I'm going to do it. And the right-hand column says, this is how I'll remember. So this is how you'll make it habit. Okay? So an example might be left-hand column, this is what I'm going to do. You say, I'm going to make the update meeting more interesting. I'm going to make it shorter. I'm going to ask more questions. That's what I'm going to do. When am I going to do it? Monday morning. How am I going to remember? Well, I'm going to change the standard agenda item so I look a bit stupid if I go back the way it was because I got the agenda. So left-hand column, improve update meetings. Middle column, starting on Monday. Right-hand one, change the agenda. Left-hand column, I'm going to use a bit of BO. Middle column, to get the kids to tidy the bedroom. How am I going to remember? That should be quite easy. Every time I go in the bloody bedroom. I don't need a reminder for that. So I don't want to keep you here writing all this stuff down, but can you see that these three columns are kind of useful? Because at the minute, you've written stuff down in the order we've gone through it. But when you go back to your desk tomorrow, that might not be the best way for you to apply it. So you're much better off with an action plan than you are a list of notes. When we started a while ago, ladies and gentlemen, I said about us, founded in 1922. 94 offices throughout the world, 72,000 staff. I think I said some 100 nonsense. Yeah? None of that was interesting. It was all pretty dull, actually. Then I asked about what your job is. And many of us realised that we were thinking about what we are like or what we do rather than the afters we cause. Our job is not to do stuff, our job is to cause stuff. When we speak to other people, our job isn't to say stuff, our job is to cause stuff. It's such a shame they're called meetings. I wish they were called causings. It's such a shame they're called presentations. I wish they were called causations. And you always want to take inspiration from clever people. So let me finish with my favourite quote, which is this. On The Simpsons once, they wanted to get invited into some high society thing. And the children had got all dressed up, but they'd, Bart had misbehaved, and so they got kicked out. And so Homer was really embarrassed by the children. So the kids are slugging behind, walking like children do when they know they're in trouble. And Marge and Homer, that's the husband and wife, are ahead of them, walking away. And Homer's really cross with the kids. And Marge says, say something to the children. He goes, they've really embarrassed me, Marge. He says, say something to the children. You're their father. He goes, all right. And he turns around and says, kids, you tried your best and failed miserably. The moral of the story, never try. And I just think that's quite good. When you hear something like this, some of you will be thinking, I think I might just give this a go. I think I might try this. To use Homer's thing, never try. Just do, and you'll be fine. I'm done. Thanks very much.